Can you please elaborate on the link between pronatalism, xenophobia, and racism, and government incentives for having children that reflect xenophobic beliefs?
Well, as a response to your question, I could offer an example from India that indicates how these interlinkages work and how these are really imbricated in the complexities of politics, society, and cultures. And I'd also like to link it to one of our central topics, which is overpopulation. I think we have to be very careful talking about population because, again, I'm basing this on what's happened in India over the past few decades. When policymakers fail at providing resources such as quality health care for all, because in India, for example, we defund our public health infrastructure, the overpopulation piece is a convenient buffer for the state. And to come back to the xenophobia bit, I think right of center parties, such as India's currently ruling party, they're very vocal and shrill about population growth. And you can easily see how they use this also as a straw man to justify the anti minority eugenic agenda. For example, the right wing party in India has repeatedly and publicly asked Hindu women to procreate more and snubbed those from the minority community to do the opposite. The citizenship amendment exercise, which really led to a lot of protests last year in the country, across the country, or the population regulation bill. These are brazen legislative attempts to change the pluralistic texture of India's population. So I think there are very clear ways in which the overpopulation agenda, the pronatalism agenda can be co-opted and misappropriated for other ends and means. And we have to be very careful, especially us advocates, to see, who's on the bandwagon and who are we speaking with.
That's really helpful, Amrita. And to expand to what you're saying about the overpopulation agenda, I'll just add a little bit of context there in my understanding of what often happens when we start challenging pronatalism is a lot of the bad history of overpopulation gets brought up as a defense to challenging pronatalism. What we have to reckon with is both pronatalism and reproductive control that was based in the framework of population control are both coercive. They're both about reproductive control of people. And, the emergency sterilization campaign that happened in India often gets brought up as a defense for why we must never speak about overpopulation, because overpopulation is always and almost always conflated with reproductive control. However, we fail to acknowledge that so is pronatalism. And like you're saying, some people are being promoted to have kids and some people are being snubbed by these governments. So control is still very much at play. And what's often missed out of the picture is overpopulation itself is a major social justice issue that is impacting the most marginalized communities. So we have to constantly acknowledge the horrible history of overpopulation and population control, but not understate the importance of moving forward this conversation in a way that upholds human rights and freedoms for everybody.